J.D. Vance's tweet, and we'll get into the case in a second, but his tweet, the money line was, judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. Now, I guess that is maybe technically true in that if the power is legitimate, they can't control it, but like, who decides if the power is legitimate?
J.D. Vance, of course, has been praising Supreme Court decisions that told Democratic presidents they can't do things. Like, for example, the immunity ruling that let Donald Trump get off scot-free for attempting a coup first time around. He was describing that as a massive win, right, for the rule of law, even though that decision told the executive branch you cannot prosecute a former president for official acts. So he knows, right, this is horseshit. And yes, right, it is wildly inconsistent with basic premises of our constitutional system.
I'm not going to ask you to predict what the Supreme Court might do, but how do you think J.D. Vance's tweet or his view of the power that the executive holds will land with even this Supreme Court?
J.D. Vance is essentially claiming the power not just of Congress, right, to make laws, devise laws, but here the power of the courts, right, to, again, enforce laws that Congress has made. And these guys on the Supreme Court, they are judicial supremacists, right? Like, they think they have the power to decide all things. And so having some weird dweeb like J.D. Vance tell them, right, like, no, you don't actually get to have your fingers in all the cookie jars, is not going to go over well with them. And so I don't think, right, they are going to be cool with this. And there are going to be certain cases where, again, the law is just sufficiently clear, whether we're talking about federal statutes or the Constitution, and what the Trump administration is trying to do is just wildly destabilizing in other ways, like where you had the executive branch saying, we're not actually going to spend federal money that Congress has appropriated. Like, that's horrible for the rule of law, like even for finance bros. Like, it's bad when the federal government doesn't pay out money that Congress said it would.
So the ruling that seems to have really set them all off in MAGA world over the weekend came from U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmayer in response to a lawsuit brought by state attorneys general over access to the Treasury payment system. The judge issued an order that said only career officials who've had the proper training can access the system, not Elon and the Dogebags. Some Trump folks interpreted the ruling to mean that even Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent wasn't allowed to access the system, though it seems like, at least as of this recording, then another federal judge has given the Department of Justice and the state AGs some time to work out an agreement over who gets access to the payment system. And the DOJ says that so far, despite J.D. Vance's tweets, they are abiding by the order.